welcome if you've just joined us. Cherry and Toby are still with me, and now with all the storms and the strikes, train travel can seem a little bit trickier than ever. On top of that, the fares are going to rise by 4.9% this year. Well, financial journalist Sue Hayward is here to tell us exactly how you can get cheaper train tickets. First up, you two travel up and down the country.
Oh, I live on them. I am never not on a train eating crisps. That's literally my life.
We were saying before, weren't we, that actually the trains, I think, get quite a bad rap in this country. For the most part, I've never been on a late train.
The Elizabeth line. The Elizabeth line, it's a train, it's like the air fryer of trains, right? It's absolutely superb. I call it the magic train because it's absolutely incredible. You don't know, but you just go before.
But when that Elizabeth line broke down before Christmas for 2.5 hours,
so just once.
People on there.
Were you on there?
Sorry, no, I was not on there.
Because so many people got caught on. I think the Elizabeth line, we're going to take that out as a sort of part of the tube.
We're talking more like trains.
Trains. So you maintain, Toby, that they're pretty much running smoothly?
I spend a lot of time on trains going to gigs and, DJing around the place, around the UK. And so I hop on a train. And, they're always pretty efficient, really good service. They get a bad rap.
I think it depends where you're going. I think once you go south, everything goes south. Like trying to get to Brighton, shenanigans, absolute shenanigans.
Yeah. Trying to get north, I had to get to Edinburgh, and we got on the train, it was LNER, King's Cross, said Edinburgh on the top, got on there was a storm, one of them was Henk or one of those. Yeah. But once we got on there, one of the train people on there said, oh no, we're not going all the way up to Edinburgh, we're only stopping at Newcastle. And then after that, you're going to have to make your own way to Edinburgh.
But you know what? One of the things I have to say with LNER, and I was impressed by this recently, I was on a train to Leeds and it was running so late. And I got off and it was fine for me. But they were actually saying if you've missed your connection, they were laying on free taxis to get people to their final destination.
Do they have to do that?
I didn't realise that. Well, I don't think they absolutely have to. I think they have responsibility to help you get there. So I wrote to them the next day and I said, I didn't need the taxi, but I was so impressed that you were doing this.
I think
and
they're quite good.
We like to do this and kind of go the extra mile if they can.
Okay.
I was really impressed.
So let's kick off, because you've got some tips on how we can all pay slightly less, because on top of them not running on time or the Wi-Fi never working, they can be quite expensive. So what are the tips to bring those prices down?
The first tip I've got is to buy in advance.
Okay.
Because if you buy advance tickets, often the train companies bring these out around 12 weeks in advance. In some cases, it's 24 weeks. Now, buying an advance ticket can save you a huge amount of money. But, of course, they are the budget-friendly. They are the cheapest tickets. But this doesn't mean they're very flexible.
OK, so how far in advance are you saying? Because they release
12 weeks, sometimes 24.
Oof.
So it means if you
I don't know what I'm doing next week.
Or you're going away in the summer holidays.
OK.
You could do this.
So for trips like going up to see the family for Christmas and all those things, then and they release them 12 weeks in advance.
About 12 weeks. And what you can do is sign up for kind of early bird discounts and emails with some of the train operating companies, or follow them on social media to get to be in the know when these tickets are released.
And what about these reports that we've heard recently that ticket machines, and we've covered this on, Jeremy's covered it, Storm's covered it, I've covered it, the closure of the ticket offices in train stations up and down the country. So ticket machines are now replacing those. And that sometimes when you buy your ticket from a ticket machine, it can be 50% more expensive than if you bought it online. Is that true?
Absolutely. It is a hideous amount. And the problem is, to be honest, the train ticketing system is a bit of a mess, really, because if you don't have somebody at the station you can actually chat to, and even then, are they going to have the time to go through all the different options? So if you don't go online and you don't have the app, it can be really difficult. And the problem is, when you're standing at the ticket machine in the real world, you're trying to buy a ticket, there's a queue of people behind you, you want to get the train, they're huffing and puffing because they're delayed, and you're presented with some options. And, the super off-peak, the off-peak, the anytime. How do you know offhand? What do these all mean?
What is off-peak? And what's peak?
Great question.
Well, off-peak is usually, and once again, this depends on the train company, usually it's after about 9:30 or 10 o'clock in the morning. But it does depend on the train company.
Yeah.
And the other thing is you can buy what you think is an off-peak ticket, but then if you're going to come home at, say, for example, for me, going home today, if I was going to go home between 4:30 and 7 o'clock tonight, I can't get an off-peak ticket. So off-peak usually is sort of later in the morning to avoid the commuters.
What about
but
weekends?
It can restrict you. Weekends usually as well.
Oh, you need a PhD.
But you can be
honestly,
your return time as well.
Toby, make notes. Make notes.
No, I am though. I tell you, I'm a big advocate of Trainline because I just find that so easy to navigate.
Yeah.
So easy.
Trainline's, we should say Trainline's an app.
It's an app, and there are others available.
There are others available, but again, they seem to be doing all the hard work for you.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
Sue, let's get to your next tip. So this is if you can't use an app, you need to be doing this thing that makes everybody's brain melt, which is train fare splitting.
Split your fare.
What does that mean?
Absolutely. It's a really simple thing that can save you money. So instead of buying one ticket from A to B, if your train stops on the way at any stations, even if you don't get off, you don't have to change trains. But if it stops on the way, you can actually buy potentially multiple tickets to cover each section of the route.
That's quite
and
clever.
It can
Why
work
are you
out
giving an
about
eye roll? Why are you doing an eye
25%
roll?
cheaper.
I did
That's brilliant.
I did a split your fare thing. Because it was cheaper than just getting a direct train, but I ended up having to change 3 times.
You see, you don't
was a
have
nightmare.
to always. I mean, maybe you had a.
Did you get
super
off and
cheap
on
one, but
again?
You don't have
Come on,
to do
you
that.
could have just stayed on.
Now this is to say that this is what the apps do. So apps like Trainline and the others, this is what they do. When you say I want to go from London to Birmingham, London to Manchester, the app actually splits your ticket.
Already?
Yeah, you have
gives
to untick it.
Yeah, but then that's how you can get those cheaper fares. So it seems to me a little bit unfair. If I walk up to a ticket machine or to person at the ticket office and go, I want to get from London to Manchester, from London to Glasgow, London to Leeds, I'm expecting them to give me the cheapest fare possible as an option, rather than, oh, well, if you want to split
And
your
you know what,
fare.
the problem is the ticketing system is so complicated that actually even somebody at the local ticket office would probably need some time and fiddling around. And of course, with the ticket offices, I think it's only 1 in 6 in this country are now manned full time. I mean, my local ticket office, it closes at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So if you do want to get a train later, or just inquire about it.
If you can, we're saying if you can, split your fares.
Yes. And
if you can
the
work
apps
that
will
out,
do it
or
for you.
go to the app. Let's have a couple of your messages and do get in touch. 0207 862 2222 is the number that you need. If you've got your own hack or trick that you do to get yourself a cheaper fare, then do get in touch and share it with the rest of it. It's only fair. Anna on Facebook says, split ticketing and book as far in advance as possible. 2 singles can often be cheaper. Michael on Twitter says, you can make train travel cheaper by getting rid of directors on huge salaries. Okay, I mean, that's Michael sort of delving into perhaps how the industry is run, but it's not going to happen tomorrow to get us cheaper tickets.
That's it.
Let's move on to your next tip that you've got.
That's using rail cards.
Okay.
Now, these rail cards, you can get them for, whether you're 16 to 25, senior, travelling maybe with a friend, 2 together. You can get all sorts of different rail cards, and they can save you around 30% on usually off-peak travel. So it costs £30 a year, but you can, if you shop at Tesco Club Card points, you can swap them for a rail card as well.
Can anybody get a rail? Can a 52-year-old man get a rail card?
Absolutely
In most
not.
cases,
No way.
Usually,
No
I
chance.
think if you want to travel with somebody else, 2 together, you could do that. The only thing is with the 2
so
together...
any
you could-
2 people?
Yes, but
That's
you do
really
have to
weird.
travel together, so you can't go somewhere, have a row,
What's
and
really
go home
weird
separately.
discount.
What's that rail card called? Sort of travelling in pairs?
2 together.
2 together.
But so you do have to stick together for the whole trip, so
What
you
is
can't
what
go
is
home
the
at different
thinking
times.
behind that discount? Who in the train world went, do you know what we'll do? We'll go 2 together. Let's do that one.
But I don't
probably
want to
complete
go.
set.
It's like, well, you're coming.
So many different ones.
Okay.
2 together. Can I quickly ask I've got so many questions.
Toby's full of questions.
You were talking about when you went to Leeds, and I went
Yes.
to Leeds before Christmas, and I went there. What about this thing when there are 2 different train companies but running on the same line? So here's the thing. So I got LNER up to Leeds to do a gig. The next day I thought, actually, I woke up early. I want to get back to London earlier. So I got on the train, but it was Avanti. It wasn't LNER. So they said, your ticket isn't eligible. So I had to pay a full price ticket just to come home. Or I had to wait another hour to get... And I thought that was a little bit unfair.
You may have bought an advance ticket, possibly, which means you are restricted by the date, the time, the train you're getting.
Wasn't very clear, though.
Which is really... I know, that is the thing. It's really, really hard sometimes to work out, what you've got. And if you can... I mean, if in doubt, I often just go to the ticket office and say, can I use this ticket to go home a bit earlier? And they'll let you know. Sometimes you can upgrade, but then who really wants to pay more money to upgrade your ticket just to travel at a
Although
different
weekend
time?
first, still quite good value, isn't it? you want to get a first class, you only pay £20 on some services, don't you? To get
Some
services,
first class ticket.
brilliant. I love
And
that.
it may have
Not
cost you in
much more.
advance another 150
Yeah,
quid.
that's
You only
such a
pay
win.
20 quid on the day, which
Yeah.
is...
What you don't want to do is go and sit in first class without having paid, because then they can come along and fine.
And so,
Yeah.
do rail cards cost anything to
They're
get?
£30 a year,
Okay.
Or you can cash in your Tesco points. And for a year, to be honest, if you're doing one big journey, even just one ticket, you could actually recoup the benefit of it just with one trip if you were doing, say, Manchester to Cornwall or something.
And are they specific to the rail operator? Or do they
Most
cover
of them
everybody?
across the country. I've actually got a network card myself. Now, that only covers the southeast.
Okay.
So there are a couple. There's also one you can get slightly cheaper. The Cotswold Line Railway, it's £9.95 a year. And that gives you 30%, but just on that particular line. So there are a few individual ones that will just give you specific discounts.
So basically, find out which trips you're doing the most and then look and see if there's a rail card for that.
Absolutely.
Or if you're a particular age group, either very young or older, that you get those rail cards.
That's it. And if you just go on railcard.co.uk, you'll see all the options.
Or go to places that are normally seasonal, they might be more expensive. Go to places that are normally seasonally more expensive, but go off-peak, go when it's not seasonal. So I went to Bognor for £4 in December. There you go.
Just because you could get there for
I say
£4.
that's way too much to pay to go to Bognor. I don't agree, because I think Bognor's beautiful.
There we go, you saved it, right at the last minute. Let's speak to Sylvia in Durham. Sylvia, welcome. What would you like to say, Sylvia?
I don't know whether you're going to get cheaper fares right at this moment in time, because I think it's a sign of the times that everything is extremely expensive and people are just having to put up and get on with it, basically. I think what I find quite sad is when they closed all the ticket offices, because a lot of people depended on them. A lot of people are not tech savvy, including myself. And I need an office, because I go to Cambridge. I go down to see my friend down Cambridge, and I haven't been just lately because I'm not too sure how to go about getting a ticket. You see, I'm also disabled, so therefore I need some help. Not a lot of help, but some help. And how do you get that now? Everybody seems to be disappearing and there's nobody there to talk to.
That's a really good point. What do people like Sylvia do? Whether they need help, not just with mobility issues, but to get that cheaper ticket. You arrive at a station, there's no one there, there's a ticket machine which is sometimes indecipherable. What do you advise?
It is really, really hard, isn't it? Because, under the sort of terms of carriage, if you start jumping on the train without a valid ticket, they then have the right to say, penalty fares, £100 a go or whatever. I mean, I would say if you know you're doing a trip in advance, it's worth asking someone if they can give you a hand with the internet, or if they can look up the cheaper fares, or even going down, although it is extra hassle, going to the train station maybe in the morning and just asking and see if they can give you some advice.
Or maybe get someone perhaps who's able to go online or use an app, Sylvia, to buy the ticket for you and save you that money. Because I know it's great to have someone in the ticket office, but even at the ticket office, we now find that you might not get the best deal and save as much money as you can by going online or using an app. Thank you, Sylvia. Now, there's something else that you want to talk us about,
Yes.
something called the Great British Rail Sale.
Bit of a tongue twister, isn't it?
Yeah.
But that kicked off this morning. And the idea is over the next week, there are over 1 million tickets up for grabs, up to potentially half price off. But the little catch is you've got a week to book them, but you can't then travel with them until the 30th of January until the 15th of March. So you've got this booking window where you book them,
Right.
but because they're advanced tickets, you can't then use them until the 30th of January, 15th
It
of March.
seems to me that somewhere someone who's designing tickets and how we buy them goes, now what's the most complex way we can
How do
get
you
this
confuse
across?
people? Yes.
Rather than where do you want to get to? Here's the price.
How do we kill any spontaneity? Because that's fun.
Yeah.
Dennis on Facebook says, just renationalise them. Trains are cheaper in most European countries.
Well, I
that is an
I
argument.
travelled to Brussels a couple of weeks ago. It was £200, and it took 2 hours, and someone bought me a tray of food in the middle of it. I know. I went to Manchester, however, it was £170, not as expensive, but not far off, and it took 2.5 hours, and no one bought me any snacks.
Well, you should have taken somebody with you. It would have been a cheaper ticket.
Oh my God, yeah, totally. I don't have any
come
friends.
on, we've talked about buying tickets.
Hang on. I've got another question for Sue, because it's an important question we've been asked. Can you buy a ticket off the conductor? So you're rushing, you get on, goes through, tickets please, you say, I haven't got one, can I buy it off you?
You shouldn't technically board the train unless you've got a valid ticket. Right. However, in the real world, if the station is shut, if the ticket machine, as I've sometimes found, is broken as well, and you're left standing on the platform and you don't have the app, in the real world, you may not start downloading the app standing on the platform. So at that point, I would say it's fair enough to get on the train, explain to the person, but I would take evidence. I always take a photo of the broken ticket machine. I've even been known to press that little help button and just say, I'm standing on the platform, I can't buy a ticket, I just want to report it. And even go on social media and just say, ticket machine broken at X station. Anyone else have this problem? Because it just means you've got other people on your case if anyone's awkward about it.
Very, very good pointers. Thank you, Sue. You've been making copious notes, Toby.
Oh, look at that. I've got sheets.